Hello, and welcome to another week of philosophy. This week, we're dealing with ethics, one of my favorite subjects. And the question I asked you is the trolley problem. To refresh your memory...
Oh, God! Michael, what did you do?
I made the trolley problem real so we could see how the ethics would actually play out. There are 5 workers on this track and 1 over there. Here are the levers to switch the tracks. Make a choice.
The thing is, ethically speaking...
No time, dude! Make a decision!
Well, it's tricky! On the one hand, if you ascribe to a purely utilitarian worldview...
Okay, so, what did we learn?
So there we go. That right there was a nice little real-life version of the trolley problem. And it basically shows what happens if you don't make a decision, because this is one of those instances where even not making a decision is still making a decision. And FYI, that's the majority of the decisions you get to make. You kind of get to pick your poison, pick your sacrifice, and not picking one is a decision. So for this example, there is no weaseling out. It's not a trick question. Like many of the philosophical questions I ask you guys, it really tells me more about you than anything else. There's no real correct answer, you know? And I'm not gonna add more to the trolley problem to try to trick you folks, like this right here.
Let's try again.
Oh, I thought maybe we would have a discussion.
No, the whole point is to play out the scenario in real time.
Quick, Judy, what's your decision?
Okay, I can do this. I am choosing to switch tracks, so that way I only kill 1 person.
Oh, forgot to tell you, this is the scenario where you actually know one of the people. It's your friend Henry there.
Cheaty! How are you, mate?
Henry, move!
Oh, nice, Trolly.
Move out of the way!
I can't, Cheaty. My boots are stuck in the tracks.
Henry, move!
Anyway, long time.
So yes, in this instance, you do not know any of the individuals. It is purely 5 individuals there, 1 individual here. Now, what this boils down to, what the trolley problem is really asking you, is something that philosophers have been arguing over for centuries. Are you judged by the outcome, or are you judged by the initial decision? So, now you're being asked, which one is the right decision? I mean right as in the morally right. What's the right thing to do? Stealing, wrong. Stealing to help feed a family may be considered right. Morally right. Which one is the morally right course of action? Okay? That's what you were being asked. And again, philosophers have been divided on this issue for centuries, all right? So some say there is no morally right. For me, I do believe there's a right course of action, but it might be in the particulars. Anyway, I'm jumping the gun here. Let's focus on these 2. If you chose to flip the switch, to kill the 1 but save the 5, you believe you should be judged by the end result of the action, i.e. at the end of the day, 5 people were saved and 1 was killed. You were there, you had to make a decision, and you chose to flip the switch, killing the 1, saving the 5. You are judged, or you're at least hoping to be judged, by the outcome of the decision, okay? So that's one side. The other side didn't flip the switch. They said, no way. If I flip this switch, I'm killing that individual right there. And no matter how much good it does, I'm not going to flip that switch. That's on this side. The outcome doesn't matter. It's the decision I make in the moment, all right? So let's focus on these 2. And let's focus on just the positive for now, okay? Let's make these as strong as possible, all right? This instance, the instance where you flip the switch to kill the 1, all right? You believe this is the right course of action because I'm saving 4 lives, all right? I killed 1, I saved the 5, 5 minus 1, 4. Hey, I'm net positive 4. Therefore, I did the right thing. In this instance, you're like, I'll do what I need to do. I'll get my hands dirty. Flipping that switch is going to get my hands dirty, but at the end of the day, I have a net positive.
If you love these people so much, you can mourn for them. Don't do this! Stop! Never.
At the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, have you helped more people than you've hurt? I mean, this is something that's obvious in our daily lives, you know? Teaching. I consider my job successful if for the majority of you, I have taught and educated and enlightened the majority of you. I know some are going to fall through the cracks, but at the end of the day, I am judged by the lives I have helped. Have I done more good than bad? And when you weigh a law, this is really what's put into action. I mean, think about it. A speed limit of 45 miles an hour, okay? Obviously, that's more dangerous, you know? If we all went 10 miles an hour, we would probably have much less accidents. But that would do a lot of harm in people being able to get to their jobs in time. So, even though going 45 miles an hour will cause more deaths, the good outweighs the bad. So you can see how in this form of argumentation, which is called utilitarianism, it's the utility that you should be judged upon, okay? Utility is the practical application, the dollars and cents, the numbers at the end of the day, the consequences of the action. You know, am I net positive? Have I done more good than bad? Utility, i.e. utilitarianism. I want to promote the most happiness.
Evening's in danger!
You tell me what my suit is, woman! We are talking about the greater good!
Greater good! I am your wife! I'm the greatest good you are ever gonna get!
That's right. It's the greatest good principle. I mean, utilitarianism is often called the greatest good principle. You know, I want to do the greatest good. At the end of the day, that's what I should be judged upon. So there you go. Makes sense. Even if I have to get my hands dirty, we all will have to get our hands dirty one day, but as long as you do more good than bad, that's what you should be judged upon. Therefore, society should look upon you that way. But what I want you to focus here is that the end goal is where judgment comes in, not in the beginning. That's what's highlighted here with the trolley problem, all right? You flip the switch, it turned, it killed one, it saved out the 5, all right? So the end result is where judgment comes in. That's utilitarianism, okay? Now let's go to the second one, and again, we're gonna make this as strong as possible. All right. This second one, also called Kantianism or Deontology, believes that the end result does not matter. It's the action you take. It's the decision you make at the time. Now, Kant and Kantianism takes this in a much more complex manner. He believes in order to judge, you should make sure that the decision you're making can be willed, that everybody makes that decision, okay? Does everybody kill the one to save the 5? In every single instance, it's made available, okay? So for them, it's like, no, because killing is wrong, all right? Secondly, you can never use an individual as a means to an end. That is to say, by flipping this switch, I am killing that one individual to save the 5. I cannot use an individual like that for the benefit of all humanity without giving them a decision. They are an autonomous individual. They get to make their own decision. I cannot take that away from them, okay? To simplify this, though, it's the decision that you should be judged upon. If I'm staring at that switch, okay, I did not put that trolley there. I am not the maintenance individual. I'm not responsible for it being there. I'm not responsible for the situation. But if I flip that switch, Now I've entered into responsibility. Now I've done something. Now I've altered the course. And that's the decision I should be judged on.
But it's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you.
If I flip that switch, I am now a murderer. I have murdered that individual. It doesn't matter that I saved 5. That's where these people come in. They believe it's the aspect of the decision itself. And we can understand this because probably as I was explaining utilitarianism or the end goals as being where judgment comes in, many of you are like, well, I don't know if everything is permitted. I mean, what if it's kill 1 to save 3? That's a little bit more difficult. Kill 1 to save 2. Ooh, I don't know. And is murder ever okay or justified to save 2, 3, or 4 people? I mean, if we're talking about thousands, it's a little bit easier for us to kind of swallow that pill, but I don't know, man. Slaughtering 1 person to save 5, that's a little iffy. That's deontology. That's Kantianism. That's the aspect of you are getting your hands dirty as soon as you flip that switch. And these people are like, no, I don't get to make that decision. So we understand that. And then I gave you the example of how we use it in law, right? Well, we judge people for them being murderers. It doesn't matter if it would have helped many other people. All right. In the aspect of the trolley problem, well, one individual who's innocent, what if we splice up all his organs to save 7 others? Do we have the right to kill that individual? No, because murder is wrong. You see? So that's another little twist on the trolley problem, where it's like, 7 healthy organs that can go to 7 people and save 7 lives. Am I going to go kill that individual? No. So the deontologist is like, absolutely not. It is the action where judgment comes in, not the outcome. So there's the split. Action, outcome. Now you might ask yourself, well, mister, why did you start with the positives? All right. One thing you should learn, it'll help you in relationships, it'll help you in discussions, it'll help you in 90% of the arguments you get into with other individuals. Do your best to make the other side as strong as possible. They call this steel manning. Okay? Straw manning is the idea that I'm going to make you as weak as possible. I may even attack the most ridiculous notion in your argument just to win.
Until now, this was the only way to get juice from an orange.
You mean there's a better way?
That's straw manning. We're doing the opposite here. We are steel manning the other person's argument. So I've steel manned both sides. I've given good, strong evidence for one and the other. And again, why do you want to do this? Well, if you're having an argument with somebody, what steel manning does is it makes sure you understand what they're saying, and maybe more importantly, the other person who you're arguing against, it gives them a chance to say, yes, that's what I'm saying. Say you're having an argument with somebody and you're like, well, here's the thing. I believe in a material identity. You believe in an immaterial identity. Why do you believe in an immaterial identity? And that individual is like, well, because I think we're more than just our material brains firing, You could take the time to say, okay, what do you mean by that? And that individual can give their time to explain. Well, if we're all just syntax firing, aren't we just like a set of dominoes? Like we don't get to decide what we're doing. We're just people of instincts because material seems to be related to the instinctual. Materially, if my brain is firing, the decision I'm making is because my brain has fired in such a way from the beginning of my birth, and I'm only making the decision in a link of chains or as dominoes are falling, so I wouldn't have free will. See how much more we've learned just with that example? We've learned so much more that we can possibly attack and try to go against. But what we're doing here is we're listening to the other side to make sure we understand it correctly, and also we're making sure that they clarify their point so I know exactly what I'm going to argue against. All right? That helps in relationships because it shows you're communicating to the other individual. So it helps there. And any of you who plan on being in a long-term relationship, this is actually a tip that will help you throughout your lives. Steel manning the other one's arguments, asking them exactly what they're saying. Please explain more, elaborate, just in case I'm not understanding what you're saying. And what it also does is, you can imagine athletes, right? A person who becomes a pro did not become a pro from going against weak individuals their whole life. They made sure to find the best of the best on their block and go against them, the best in the state and go against them. They made sure that their opponent was as strong as possible. Why? Because if their opponent is strong, they become strong.
Oh, this is very crazy, Apollo.
Look, Stallion. Now look, when you run that last fight, you won by 1 second. You beat me by 1 second, 1 second. That's very hard for a man of my intelligence to handle.
Oh, is it? But didn't you say after I beat you, you learned how to live with it?
I lied.
Oh, you lied. So now you just gotta prove it to yourself,
just
right?
for myself. No TV, no newspapers, just you and me.
Nothing, just you and me. Age before beauty.
Anything you say, Stallion.
I do all the work, okay? I'll tell you, Paul, you better go slow, because you ain't as young as springtime no more.
I'm still young enough to whip your butt, Stallion.
Oh, yeah? Well, how you gonna do that? You taught me everything you know.
Almost everything. You gotta remember now, you fight great, but I'm a great fighter, huh? You ready?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. You know, Stallion, it's too bad we gotta get old, huh?
Just keep punching, Apollo. Want to ring the bell?
All right. Ding, ding. Come on, Stallion. Come on.
Boy, you really move good for an older guy.
Oh, you're looking good, Stallion. I taught you well.
I think you taught me too good. Look at him fly.
Look out now. No, you don't want any of this. Come on.
Maybe I'm in here with the wrong guy.
Come on, watch yourself. Ready?
That's why I like training. That's why I often say middle school is training. You know, you have been through elementary already. You have an idea of how to communicate with one another. Now you're training for real academics in high school, okay, and in college. So this is training day right here. The 2 years you're in middle school, I often refer to as training day. But the point here is, when you're arguing with individuals, it is training. And you're either going to train yourself to be a paper tiger, easily folded, looks really strong, but easily folded, or you're going to steel man somebody else's argument, so that way you're overcoming something of power, and in turn, making you more powerful. Okay? So that's why I made these two arguments as strong as possible. Now, we'll go over the weaknesses of both of them. And basically, the sacrifices of the poison you have to pick when you decide either or. So, the problem with utilitarianism, or those who decided to flip the switch to kill the one individual, okay? Is anything allowed as long as I've saved more people?
What consoles me in the darkest of nights is that as a doctor, I saved thousands of lives. So if we're judging the moral worth of a person based on the mark they leave on the world, mine is a net positive.
See, in that clip right there, that is a mass murderer making the argument that he has net positive. He was a surgeon, so he saved a lot of people. It doesn't matter how heinous 4, 5, 6, 12, or 13 acts are. Doesn't matter how heinous those actions are. He saved hundreds of lives. Do you believe that? Is it really, at the end of the day, is really anything permissible as long as you are promoting the greatest good? So that's one of the big issues here. is anything permissible? Because if you're only judged by the outcome, if you're only judged by the consequence, then anything is permissible as long as the consequence is the greatest good or promoting the greatest good. Now, here's another problem, okay, outlined by this excellent movie here that I'm about to show you. See if you can figure out the issue.
Solly.
Mr. Kelly?
Solly, tell us, Skipper, about your luck.
Well, there I was in this poker game in the smoking lounge after we wrapped up the band for the night. All of a sudden, I'm staring down at 3 lovely aces, the prettiest bullets you ever saw. Bet half my stack, draw 2 cards. Wham! We hit the mine.
Sure, the Skipper. Full house.
That's right. A full house at the wrong time.
That's what you got, old buddy. A full house at the wrong time.
Something's gotta break.
The weather will break.
We can't take any weather. She'll sink right under us.
Well?
Well?
That leaves just one thing.
What?
You've got to evict some of the tenants.
See, here you have a bunch of individuals who are on a lifeboat, okay? Their ship sunk, and there's like 20 or 25 individuals on a small little lifeboat that was probably made for 7, okay? So here they are, 25 in a place where only 7 can survive, okay? Now, here's what happens, and this is actually based on a true story, by the way. Over time, the food supplies start to run out. And they look at either all of them are going to starve or only 12 or 13 are going to live. Because they don't know how long it's going to take for them to be rescued. They need to make sure these provisions last as long as possible. And I believe in the movie, they specify that there's enough for 30 days for 7 to 8 people. But with 20, it'll last a week.
Listen, all hands. I've had it. What good? She's had it. So has she had it.
Kelly, you'll hurt yourself. Be careful.
I'm right. Ask the skipper if I'm not right.
Kelly, I'm ordering you to sit down.
You can't order a dead man.
Make this man sit
I'm
down.
not going to sit down, so listen. Mr. Holmes is an honorable man. He's trying to save your lives, but he can't.
But he's got to.
He can't. Some of you are dead already. He can't save all your lives. There are too many people in this boat.
Kelly, dear God, please.
I'm right. This boat was built for 9. It'll stretch to 12 or 14. But he can't save 26.
Kelly, stow it.
It's a rotten door. He's got to put at least 12 over the side. The supercargoes have got to go or else you'll all drown. There's food and water for 9. It'll stretch to 14. It'll be nothing for 26. Alec, don't give food to the dead. They'll just drag you down to the grave with them. Save it for the living. They deserve it. It's your duty as master. Do it, Alec. Do it. Like this.
So they're trying to give themselves the most time as possible. So they end up making a decision where the captain of the boat actually jumps out of the boat and his second in command takes charge because the captain was wounded or something like that. So he jumps overboard. And then the person who's second in command, he gives them the helm and he actually gives him a gun as well. Okay. So then that individual is like, we don't have enough food. So he starts telling people, jump overboard. He starts telling people to kill themselves. And how does he make this decision? He believes the weakest ones should go. Him as well. If he comes to a point where he's not going to be able to do his part on the ship to make sure everybody survives, well, he would even sacrifice himself, all right? So he starts making that decision, but that's not where the utility comes in.
Brave Captain, what are we going to do?
Pray, madam, and mean it.
Here is the weakness of utilitarianism outlined in this scenario, okay? They're down to like 15 or 16, okay? And again, this boat, this raft, is only going to hold 7 or 8, okay? And there's a storm on the horizon. If that storm hits them with the amount of people they have, the boat will sink. They won't be able to bail fast enough. It will be too heavy. The boat will sink, and there's the storm. The storm is coming. All right? So the captain makes the difficult utilitarian decision.
Be no lots.
But you'll have to draw lots, Alec. You surely don't expect the men to volunteer to drown themselves.
There will be no volunteers.
Sir, you mean, sir, you'll do the choosing of your own mind?
I will.
There is a man.
It's a terrible responsibility, Alec.
I don't like this.
It's the law of the sea, General. I don't like it either, but it's always been women and children first. Some of us men will take our chances in the sea to give the women a chance in the boat.
Negative.
What did you say, sir?
Negative. It will not be women and children first. The weaklings must go.
You can't do it. You mustn't do it.
It's wrong. It's murder.
I'm against it.
I want only the strong, who can row 1,500 miles to Africa and walk ashore alive. I want the strong who won't fall faint when the food gives out and the water runs dry. I want only those who can make it and not those who can't.
I won't go along with that, Captain. I vote negative.
You have no vote, Mac.
He is going to sacrifice the 5 or 6 in order for the rest to survive. And he does it at gunpoint, okay? They jump out, okay? They jump overboard. The storm hits, but it's not as bad as they thought. And then after the storm clears, everybody in the raft is happy and thanks the captain for making the decision that he made.
Alive. We're alive.
Well, at least we won't have to be embalmed. Sea's taken care of that.
I can't believe it. I've never been through anything like it. This is my first time at sea.
We'd have never made it. I'm telling you, the skipper saved every blasted one of us.
You bet your tail he did.
Look at those hands. Look at those hands.
Last night, that big sea, that one that busted right over us, that was a 7th wave. We got a good boy.
He was right all the time.
All right. Even though the storm may not have been as bad, all of them fully feel that had the 15 or 16 remained, they would have sunk. But then they hear a horn.
Did you hear it?
A ship! A foghorn! I heard it twice!
Where?
Just off there!
No, it was astern of us.
I think she's in that wall of fog.
Look!
She's breaking through!
Father gun!
Go on, Dingley!
It's a ship that is looking for them. And they are going to be rescued. And then reality sinks in. This is maybe 5 minutes that has gone by. Tops here. All right? All of them turn on the captain. And this is highlighted very well by this right here.
Too soon. Just a little bit too soon, brave Captain.
Too soon? It wasn't long enough. The decision's wait wasn't long enough. So they all turned on him. He ends up getting prosecuted, by the way, for murder. Do you see the problem? So the storm that is on the horizon looks terrible. If it was just as bad as they thought it was going to be, easily they would have sunk. All right? But the fact that after the storm hit, only 5 minutes later they were rescued, his decision went from morally right and morally just to immoral and unjust. Just like that. What control did he have over that storm?
Nature, I command you, bring forth thunder and lightning.
What foresight must he possess in order to be judged by this outcome? We do not believe we can judge people on their ability to predict things. Or how about this? Are we going to hold somebody accountable for something that's outside of their own control? Like he controls the weather? Or he controls when that boat was going to show up? Let me bring it back to the trolley problem, okay? You flip the switch. You're a good utilitarian. You flip the switch, you're going to kill the one. You flip the switch, but what you didn't know is that trolley could not handle that turn. And so it flips on its side, goes into the crowd of people watching, kills 13 people as it's being done. Now, by your own aspect of utilitarianism, you are wrong, you are immoral, and you are in trouble. You made the same decision. But in this instance, life's outcomes that are not in your control, the trolley flips and you kill 13. Now you're wrong? Really? You made the same decision in both instances and something outside of your control happened. And in one instance, you're moral, and in the other instance, you're immoral. You are putting morality into the hands of something else other than yourself, and yet you're going to be judged for it. That's the problem with utilitarianism. Now, let's get to the problem of Kantianism or deontology.
Not looking at the big picture, Stan. Here's a scenario. You have the power to cure all the world's diseases, but the price for this is that you must kill a single innocent child. Could you kill that child, Stanley?
No.
You disappoint me. It's the greatest good.
See, at what point do you need to make the bad decision? At one point do you need to make the immoral decision? It's almost egotistical at this point, right? I can save humanity's world hunger, the problem of world hunger. I just have to sacrifice one person. And I don't do it? It's almost like I don't want to be seen as an immoral individual, so everyone will suffer. It's almost that kind of ego involved. Because you look at this and you think about this and you're like, it's almost like you have the duty or obligation to get your hands dirty. In ancient China, they dealt with this problem because butchers weren't seen as individuals of moral value. I.e., they believed that a butcher cannot be moral. The way they have to carve animals in order to provide food. And that's just it. The soldiers knew they needed protein. They needed the protein from the meat. All right? But they also knew that killing innocent animals like this was wrong. So the butcher had to come to that understanding that he was not going to be a sage. He was not going to be a moral or virtuous individual, but he was able to sacrifice himself for the greater good. He sacrificed himself to feed these soldiers who needed the protein. At what point do we need to make the tough decision? At what point do we need to forego our own ego and understand I'll shoulder the responsibility of being completely immoral as long as it saves thousands or millions? At what point can that be made? Because for Kantianism or deontology, you don't ever flip that switch. It doesn't matter if everybody's going to die. You don't flip that switch. This was really well highlighted in the final episode of MASH, but it's a traditional example of the crying baby.
Keep that damn chicken quiet.
So what you saw there was they were hiding from enemy soldiers. All of those individuals on the bus were hiding from enemy soldiers. It's just like the idea that you have a bunch of individuals in a basement hiding from the Nazis that are on top of the room itself or searching for them, okay? And then a baby starts to cry. Now, what do? Do you smother the baby or not? You know, I was called a die-in-the-wool Kantian because of the argument I made here. But think about it, okay? If you smother the baby, all of you survive. If you don't do it, then all of you die, including the baby, when the soldiers hear the crying baby scream. Now, a die-in-the-wool Kantian will say, hey, I'm not a murderer. I will allow the baby to cry, even if they show up and slaughter us all. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who chose to be murderers, not me. And they will be judged.
No executioner.
Your compassion is a weakness your enemies will not share.
That's why it's so important. It separates us from them.
But as long as I don't do it, I'm not the murderer. So that's kind of what a die-in-the-wool Kantian would say. But you can understand here that there are certain times where people would have to get their hands dirty for the greater good. Or maybe not. Maybe you're a die-in-the-wool Kantian as well, who is like, at the end of the day, it's not the consequences, it's my own actions, because that's the only thing I can control. Other people would look at that and say, are you absurd? That individual is going to die anyway. In fact, it was dead as soon as it started crying. The decision you get to make is, do we all die because of it, or do we at least save ourselves? But that's the issue with Kantianism. It does not bend. Your decisions, what you decide to do in that moment, that's where judgment comes in, not the consequences.
Bruce, I forgive you for not saving me. But why? Why on God's earth is he still alive?
Think about it in the aspect of Batman, who is very well the deontological superhero here, because he even says he needs to be different. You know, he is not going to ever murder anyone because murder is wrong in and of itself. Think about how many people has the Joker killed. Okay, in this mythology, in this storyline, I mean, Joker must have tens of thousands, if not millions, of lives on his head. How many has he killed? And Batman's like, doesn't matter how many he kills. He's the mass murderer. As soon as we kill him, now we're just as bad. I mean, even if I wouldn't say just as bad, even though he probably says just as bad, you are a murderer now, according to him. Because if there is anybody who can make the insanity case here, it's the Joker. You know, one day we could easily see him, something happens in his brain and he starts acting completely normal, you know. Regardless though, how many people has the Joker killed? Almost millions? And all we would need to do is kill him and we would stop that right there. Some say you're obligated to do so. That's the problem with deontology. That's the problem with Kantianism. That's the problem with laying all the judgment at the feet of the initial decision and not the consequences. Because eventually, the consequences are so huge, so enormous, that you have to get your hands dirty in order to do the right thing. It's almost like you're obligated to do so. All right. And again, I'm not telling you something I believe. What I'm telling you is this is the weakness of this particular theory. This is also highlighted in one more thing. Watchmen.
What's that? Another ultimate weapon?
Yes. You could say that.
Attack. Millions of lives were suddenly ended in an act of evil perpetrated by Dr. Manhattan himself. Since the attacks, I have been in constant contact with the Premier of the USSR. Putting aside our past differences, we are both pledged to unite against this common enemy. With the rest of the world, we will prevail. This is a day we shall never forget. And yet we go forward to defend the human race and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you. God bless us all.
Do you see? Two superpowers retreating from war. I've saved the Earth from hell. Now we can return. Do what we were meant to.
We were meant to exact justice. Everyone's gonna know what you've done.
Well then, by exposing me, you would sacrifice the peace so many died for today.
Peace based on a lie.
But peace, nonetheless. He's right.
So what happens here is one of the heroes or the anti-heroes kills thousands of innocent lives and blames it on another hero. Now, what does this do? The entire world bands together to go against this super-powered hero. It's a lie. The hero didn't do it. The person who is promoting the peace actually did it. So, it's peace, but it's based on a lie. Do we tell the truth? All of these individuals are dead. It united us against a singular villain, because that's one of the theories. In order to really achieve world peace, unite yourself against a villain. Give the world a singular villain that can put all of them in danger. You'll see world peace like that. So that's one of the theories right there, and it's outlined here in Watchmen. But this villain that is given to the whole world is based on a lie. He did not do it. He was framed. The person who framed him knew this was going to end up in world peace, knew that these actions of killing all of these innocent people would end in world peace. Now, two heroes disagree. The one who is taken and shouldering the responsibility, he understands it. And he says, I'll deal with it. Another one says, no. This is all based on a lie, and we need to tell the world the truth. He ends up getting killed at the end of the movie because all the people are dead. This individual, the hero, the blue hero, he's like, all of them are dead anyway. But look, we get world peace out of it. We get something great out of it. The entire world has united against me, and I can shoulder that. The other one's like, it's based on a lie, though. So what? So what if it's based on a lie? Look at the monumental good that came out of it. Do we need to let everyone know it's a lie based on duty when the practical application is that everybody is now united? That's the problem with deontology. Something as simple as a lie, a duty, an obligation like that cannot be bargained with. And there we go. You have to choose your side. Just like life itself, you do not get to choose whether you get to sacrifice or not. If you're lucky, you get to choose what you sacrifice. But even not choosing is choosing. All right? So here we go. Laid it out. Should you be judged by the consequences, or should you be judged by the initial decision? Have a good week, and I'll see you next time.